welcome to Whispers of Ink. I'm Machado de Assis, and now, I will read one of my stories.
Let's start with the book The Best of Brides, which is part of my novels collection. Chapter 1. Juan Barbosa was 73 years old, and on the last day of September in 1868, he walked into his house with a strange smile on his face. It wasn't the kind of smile that brings warmth or joy. It was silly, almost ridiculous, a smile that didn't feel right coming from a man his age. He had been thinking about getting married again, and that thought had filled him with a strange excitement. It was already 8 in the evening. His housekeeper, Dona Joana, greeted him as he came in. "You seem very happy today, sir," she said. "Do I?" he replied. "Did you see a green bird or something?" "No, Dona Joana, not green. White. A white bird, as white as milk. Pure and beautiful to look at, like the delicious meals you sometimes prepare for me." "Oh, I see," she said. "That's exactly it, Dona Joana." "That's what?" she asked. Joao didn't answer right away. Instead, he licked his lips, winked his eyes a few times, and dropped himself onto the couch. The light from the candlestick hit his face directly, showing the lines of age and the shadows of old desires. He opened the top button of his jacket and let out a long sigh, as if it were the last one left from his younger days. He looked sad. He looked like a man who had made a decision he couldn't take back. And maybe that was true. But Dona Joana didn't try to guess what was going on in his mind. She was 48 years old, strong and solid. For 10 years she had lived in Joao Barbosa's house, showing the world that she didn't care what people thought. She had come to work for him not long after he became a widower. From the beginning, she had to fight against his 2 relatives, who tried everything to get rid of her but failed every time. The relatives, the neighbors, and even people who barely knew them all believed the same thing: that Dona Joana was living with Joao not as a housekeeper, but in some kind of secret, shameful relationship. But that was a lie. Dona Joana knew what they said, and she didn't care. She stayed right where she was. Joao Barbosa had just turned 70 when Dona Joana entered his life. He was a retired judge, a man of routine and quiet habits. Though he rarely spoke of it, he carried the weight of loneliness heavily. His wife had died 10 years earlier, and his only son had passed away not long after. All that remained were 2 nephews, eager and watchful, always ready with kind words and warm smiles. But Joao Barbosa knew better. He had seen how money could twist hearts, how family could become strangers in the presence of inheritance. He had sold off the family farms, the ones passed down from his father and uncle, and invested the money in government bonds and city properties. He moved to Rio de Janeiro for good after his wife died, leaving behind the countryside and its memories. Life in the city suited him, quiet and predictable. That is, until he decided he needed help at home. One morning, he placed an ad in the paper. Wanted. A respectable lady of mature age to manage the home of a widowed gentleman. It seemed simple enough, but the response would change everything. Dona Joana was 38, though she told Joao Barbosa she was 44. She had a calm voice, a steady gaze, and a mind that worked quickly. She got the job. The moment the nephews heard about it, they sprang into action. "Uncle," said one of them, leaning forward with a concerned look, "are you sure this is wise? A woman you barely know, running your house? What if she gains too much influence?" "Influence?" João Barbosa replied, sipping his tea. "She's here to cook, clean, and keep the house in order. Nothing more." The other nephew, always the more dramatic of the two, threw his hands up. "But uncle, these things have a way of growing. First it's the house, then it's the will. Before you know it, she'll be asking for bonds or property." João Barbosa looked at him with tired eyes. "Then I suppose he'll deal with it when the time comes." They tried again and again, offering to hire servants, to pay for a housekeeper, to take care of everything themselves. But João Barbosa held firm. He had made his choice. Dona Joana, for her part, never said much. She kept to herself, worked hard, and never overstepped. But in her heart, she dreamed quietly. She hoped no. She believed that João Barbosa would remember her in his will. Not out of love, but as a reward for her loyalty. A dozen bonds, a house, something small but meaningful. To her, it would be worth every whisper and every sideways glance from the neighbors. She knew people talked. Some laughed. Others fumed. But Dona Joana lived by a simple rule: better to be warm and criticized than cold and admire. And so, day by day, she stayed by João Barbosa's side, waiting for the moment when her patience might finally pay off. Joana wasn't just a caretaker, she was more than that. She was like a daughter, a wife, a mother, and a nurse, all in one. And if you think that's exaggerating, let me tell you, even the most loving mother couldn't have held more tenderness in her heart than she did for old João Barbosa. He was 70, rich and stubborn, and she made sure he had everything he needed, every single day. She woke up early to prepare his morning coffee just the way he liked it. She picked his entertainment, read him the news, and told him stories from the neighborhood to keep him amused. She checked his socks to see if they needed mending and cooked special meals that could make life feel lighter. She didn't just feed him, she fed his soul. She was careful too. She didn't give him weak food or watered-down wine. No, she made sure he always had a good cut of red meat and a fine glass of port. Anyone would think they were a married couple who had been together for 50 years, not a man and the woman who worked for him. When João got sick, Joana became everything to him. She stayed by his side day and night, comforting him, feeding him, even giving advice like a real doctor. I swear, if he had needed a priest, I think she would have stepped in for that too. What she did in those moments was beyond description. It would take a whole book to tell it all, and I don't have space here to write it. But I can say this: João Barbosa knew how much she did for him, and he thanked her not just with kind words, but with gifts. He gave her beautiful dresses, lovely jewelry, and other fine things. At first, she would blush and refuse them. She didn't want to take anything, not because she wasn't grateful, but because she didn't do it for rewards. But João was stubborn. He insisted so much that, in the end, it would have been rude to keep refusing. And there was something else. Joana never got sick. Not headaches, Not nervous spells, nothing. She was strong like iron. She woke up with the sun and immediately got the servants moving. She watched over everything, organized everything, ran everything. Johan didn't have a single worry in the world except to enjoy his life. But not everyone was happy with this arrangement. João had 2 nephews, and they didn't like how much power Joanna seemed to have. They were afraid of what might happen if things kept going like that. So they started telling João what people were saying in town, hoping to turn him against her. "People are talking," one of them said. "Is that so?" João replied. "Yes, sir. They say things. And it doesn't look good, not at your age, to be seen like this." "Nonsense," João interrupted. "Not a thing. Or almost nothing." João Barbosa's nephew, José, sat across from him in the dim candlelight, hands folded, trying one last time. "Uncle," he said carefully, "you must know how much we care for you. And for Dona Joanna, of course. She's been so good to you." João Barbosa gave a short laugh. "They say I have feelings for that saintly woman. Not true. But it could happen. And it wouldn't be ugly, not at all." José tried not to roll his eyes. He had asked for help with money, a small loan, but Yo had refused. So now, he changed tactics. He smiled and nodded. "You're right. Dona Joanna is a rare soul. I admire her very much." It worked. João Barbosa looked pleased. "You're not like your cousin," he said. "Is ungrateful." "Ungrateful? Me? José's voice rose. "If I were, I'd be a monster." He crossed his arms, face twisted in mock offense. That night in September, João walked into the house with a strange light in his eyes. Dona Joanna, sitting by the window, saw him and smiled. "What's that look for?" she teased. "You know," he said. "No, I don't," she replied, curious now. "You do," he insisted. "I don't think I do." "Well, you should," he said. "Go on, make the tea." She stood, a little hurt. He never kept secrets from her. Never. And now, this. Still, she moved to the kitchen, her steps slower than usual. When he sat at the table, she poured his tea, cut the bread just how he liked, and laid the napkin neatly beside his plate. She had done this for 10 years, with love and care. But tonight, something felt different. They spoke little. The silence between them was heavier than usual. In the days that followed, João stayed in a strange mood. He smiled more, left the house often, and talked about making changes. New furniture, a new cook, a new look for the front yard. Dona Joanna watched him closely. She began to understand. He was in love, and she feared it wasn't with her. The blood in her veins turned cold, and fear gripped her heart. Twice she tried to steer the conversation toward what really mattered, but João Barbosa seemed completely distracted, not even listening to her words. After about 15 days, once lunch was over, João Barbosa asked her to follow him to his private study. It's now, she thought. I'm finally going to find out what this is all about. She followed him into the study. When they arrived, João Barbosa sat down and invited Dona Joana to do the same. She obeyed, though her legs shook badly. It was only polite to sit after all. I'm about to give you the greatest sign of my affection, said the old man. Dona Joana bowed her head slightly. You've been with me in this house for 10 years now. Feels more like 10 months, she replied. Thank you, Dona Joana. 10 years ago I had the smart idea to look for someone who could take care of everything for me. And I was lucky enough to find in you the best housekeeper I could ever hope for. Let's talk about something else, she said, a bit nervously. I must be fair. I want to be fair. Go ahead then. I also want to praise your modesty. It's the finest part of your many good qualities. I'm going to leave now. No, don't go. Hear me out. Are you happy with me? Happy? Where else could I possibly be better off? You've been like a father to me. A father? João Barbosa made a face and interrupted her. Let's talk about something else. Listen, Dona Joana. I don't want to lose you anymore. Who would even think such a thing? No one, but I still need to say it. I don't want to let you go. And are you willing to feel the same way? At that moment, Dona Joana felt as if she were spinning, as though she were dreaming, as if heaven itself had opened just for her. In her mind she saw a priest, an altar, 2 people getting married, legal papers, a will, so many wonderful, almost sacred things. Willing? She cried. Who would even suggest I wouldn't be? I'm ready to spend the rest of my life here. But I should say, the idea of being together, yes, of getting married. The wedding will happen, João Barbosa interrupted, slapping his knee. Does that seem strange to you? Oh no, not at all. But your nephews? My nephews are 2 foolish men and I don't care what they think. Joana didn't argue with João Barbosa's words. Once he calmed down, he returned to his usual happy self, the one that had made him look so blissfully content for the past 2 weeks. Joana didn't dare look at him directly. Instead, she fidgeted with the ends of her shawl. They stayed like that for 2 or 3 minutes. Well, I'll say it again, João Barbosa went on. The wedding will happen. I'm old enough, and I don't owe anyone an explanation. That's true enough, Joana replied quietly. But even if I did, he said, his voice rising with emotion, how could I possibly hesitate when I think of the matchless charm of Dona Lucinda? That name hit Joana like a thunderclap. If a condor had suddenly grabbed her in its powerful claws and flown her straight up near the sun, only to drop her back down to the earth, the fall wouldn't have been half as jarring as the one she felt inside after hearing that last word. And yet, the reason for her pain didn't make much sense. After all, she had never dreamed of marrying her employer, and he had never clearly said anything to suggest such a thing before now. But desire can play cruel tricks, and Joana's imagination had run far ahead of reality. For a moment, she believed that the rich old man had chosen her to be his wife. In her mind, she had already built a whole world of dreams, and hopes only for it all to vanish with a single word. Lucinda? She repeated at last, her voice trembling. Who is this, Dona Lucinda? She's one of heaven's angels sent to me by God. João Barbosa said, to make me happy here on earth. You're joking, Joanna said, clinging to a last thread of hope. If only I were, he answered. If this were just a joke, I could go on living peacefully, without ever knowing such happiness. Yes, but also without suffering these terrible shocks to my heart. So it's true then? Absolutely true. Joanna turned pale. João Barbosa kept talking. Don't think she's some 15-year-old girl, he said. She's a full-grown woman, 32 years old, a widow, and from a good family. He went on praising the bride-to-be, but Donna Joanna wasn't listening anymore. Although she had never even considered becoming João Barbosa's wife, she clearly saw that his decision would hurt her. She didn't say a word, and just stayed quiet, feeling sad. The old man, already in his 70s, had poured his heart into describing the woman he had chosen to replace his late wife, gone for so many years now. When he noticed Donna Joanna's sadness, he quickly tried to cheer her up. What's wrong, Donna Joanna? He asked. This doesn't change anything for you. I won't leave you behind. You'll always have a home here, until God calls you to him. Who knows? She sighed. João Barbosa gave her his warmest promises, and then got ready to leave the house. He walked from Rua da Ajuda, where he lived, to Rua dos Arcos, where the woman of his thoughts, his future bride, and soon-to-be mistress of his home was waiting. Donna Lucinda G. was 34, almost 36, but looked older. Her face was serious, and her manners were those of a strict matron. Yet behind that serious look was a deep inner struggle, a battle between the little money she had and the endless desire she carried inside. She had been a widow since she was 28. Her husband had been a Navy officer, and she had married him at 17 just to please her parents. Since then, she had never lived the way her heart truly wanted. She loved a life of luxury, but only had enough to live modestly. She dreamed of high society, but had to accept a simple, ordinary place in life. She had a few relatives, but they were in the same situation as her, unable to give her the things she longed for. She lived without hope, without comfort. But one day, like a ship on the horizon, João Barbosa appeared, her chance to change everything. João Barbosa first met the widow of a naval officer inside a shop on Rua do Ouvidor. He was so taken by her charm and the grace that still surrounded her, that he asked for the honor of spending more time with her. Donna Lucinda was a woman, which means she could sense what was happening in the heart of this man in his 70s, even before he could say it out loud. A quiet hope lit up her heart, and she welcomed it like a gift from heaven. That's how João Barbosa's love began. Their courtship moved quickly, or as quickly as it could between two people who had both already lost their spouses. Despite his wealth, which made him a very desirable match, João Barbosa didn't dare to tell Donna Lucinda everything he felt. He was too shy, too afraid of what she might think. But she helped him. One day, noticing how deeply he was staring at her, she asked him gently if they had met before. I saw you a long time ago, he replied. How do you mean? She asked. I don't know, João Barbosa mumbled. Dona Lucinda sighed. João Barbosa sighed too. The next day, she told him she would soon be leaving. When he heard this, João felt as if he were falling off his chair. "Are you leaving the city?" he asked. "I'm going north." "Do you have family there?" "One." João thought for a moment. She watched him closely, curious like a hungry dog waiting for a scrap. "You won't go," he finally said. "I won't?" "No." "But why not?" João tried to hide a sudden pain in his joints. He stood up, straightened himself, and bowed before her. Then he asked for her hand in marriage. She didn't blush, but even though she had expected this moment, she felt a deep joy shake her heart. "What do you say?" he asked. "I refuse." "Refuse?" "Oh, with great sadness in my heart, but I must refuse." João sat back down. His face turned pale. "That can't be true," he said. "But why? Why would you say no?" "It's because, sadly, you are rich." "What does that matter?" "Your family will think I set a trap for you, just to gain your money." João Barbosa sat in the parlor, his hands folded tightly, his voice shaking with a mix of anger and passion. "My relatives," he said. "Two scoundrels not worth a second thought. Why should I care what they say?" Lucinda, seated across from him, nodded but replied calmly, "You should care. They're not the only ones." He looked up, puzzled. "What do you mean?" "I have my own family," she continued, "and they won't like this marriage either. They'll say the same things, and I'll still have to live with it." She paused, her voice firm. "Let's not speak of this again." João was both anxious and deeply moved by Lucinda's strength and honesty. In that moment, he poured out words like water from a broken dam. He spoke of their shared values, of his independence, of how little the world's opinions should matter, especially the opinions of those with selfish motives. And finally, he spoke from the heart. That, more than anything, seemed to soften her. "I'm not young," he said gently, "but I feel young." Lucinda smiled and replied, her tone thoughtful, "You're right. Youth isn't written in a birth certificate, it lives in the soul. Some young men are already old, and some older men are forever young." "Yes, yes," João said, nodding eagerly. "Then let them talk. Let them all talk. I beg you, let's be together and ignore the jealous ones." Lucinda didn't resist much longer. They agreed to marry, and quickly. João was a man of great character and conviction. He made plans to ensure that his two nephews would not inherit a single thing from him when he perceived a possibility he didn't like to think about, but one he couldn't ignore completely. That was the situation. João visited Lucinda again the next morning, earlier than usual. She didn't mind. How could she complain about a man who had shown her such courage and devotion? Their visits rarely lasted more than 2 hours. They talked about small things, weather, neighbors, music, but always between João's deep sighs and Lucinda's playful smiles. As he walked home that day, João whispered to himself, "Who would have thought this happiness was waiting for me at my age?" Joanna wasted no time. As soon as he left the house that morning, she sat down to think. This new situation was terrible for her. It was clear that João Barbosa wouldn't fire her today, but once he married, his wife would surely demand it in the first days or maybe even before the wedding. Worse still, if João's affection now belonged to someone else, his gratitude would fade. And with that gratitude, so the small fortune she had hoped to inherit. She had to find a way out. But how? She spent the entire morning trying to think of a solution. Nothing came to mind. Every idea seemed either impossible, dangerous, or unthinkable. She imagined speaking to the future bride, or pretending to fall ill, or even leaving the house herself, but none of it made sense. By the time João Barbosa returned home at 3 o'clock, Joanna looked tired and quiet. He asked what was wrong. She gave a few vague answers, but nothing clear. If not for the morning's earlier argument, he might have thought nothing of it. "I already told you, Donna Joanna," he said gently. "You lose nothing because of my new situation. The house is still yours." The look she gave him was full of pain and pride. It was so strong that he could not find a single word to reply. Inside, he admired her. She truly cares for me, he thought. What a noble soul. In the following days, Joanna continued to serve him with the same care and attention. She arrived on time, cooked with care, and kept the house in perfect order. But her sadness remained, and it troubled João deeply. He wanted both women to be happy, his future wife, Lucinda, and the woman who had raised him like a mother. Meanwhile, young José, her nephew, had stopped trying to break her ties to João. He realized his efforts were pointless. Still, he visited often, claiming to ask for his uncle's blessing, and not so secretly, hoping for a small gift or favor. A few days after João's announcement, he showed up again. His uncle wasn't home, but Donna Joanna was. Alone with her, he stayed longer than usual, praising João with every word. He hoped, as always, that somehow João would hear of it and feel grateful. José had never seen Dona Joanna so quiet. Usually cheerful and full of small talk, she now moved around the house with a serious look on her face. He asked her what was wrong, but she answered quickly, "It's nothing." "Nothing? That can't be right," he said, frowning. Something must have happened. She hesitated. "Maybe it's about my uncle." "Do you think he's sick?" "If only that were it." Her words surprised him. Then she looked regretful, as if she had said too much. Half of her regret was real, the other half just pretend. She wasn't sure if José would keep a secret, but she could see where his heart stood. He kept asking questions until she finally gave in. "Promise me you won't tell anyone," she said. "I promise," he replied. She took a breath. "That woman Dona Lucinda is trying to trick my uncle. She wants his money." José's eyes widened. "Don't tell me more. I understand everything now." "What will you do?" "I'll take care of it. I'll find a way to stop her. Please don't do anything that could hurt us." "I told you I wouldn't. But I will uncover her plan." "Has she been here already?" "No, but I heard she's coming to dinner this Sunday." "Then I'll come too. For God's sake, don't cause trouble. Don't worry." José saw the danger clearly. But he didn't realize that Dona Joanna had told him everything not just to warn him, but to get his help. She wanted him on her side, to stop a marriage that almost certainly would happen. Fear can bring courage, and one of the strongest fears is losing an inheritance. Jose felt ready to do whatever it took to stop his uncle from marrying Dona Lucinda. And sure enough, on Sunday, Dona Lucinda arrived at João Barbosa's house for dinner. He had been smiling non-stop since he woke up. When Dona Joana brought him his coffee, he couldn't stop talking about his future wife. "You'll meet her today, Dona Joana. You'll see what a wonderful woman she is, full of respect, kindness, and deep love. More sugar? No, thank you. Just listen to me. What grace! What manners! What a heart! You can't imagine how lucky I am to have found her. I never thought I would meet someone so perfect in every way. Careful, the coffee is getting cold." It doesn't matter. João Barbosa sat alone in the quiet room after Dona Joana left. He looked lost in thought, his face softening. "Poor woman," he whispered to himself. "The idea that she might lose my respect haunts her constantly." In his heart, he knew Dona Joana disapproved of his upcoming marriage, even if she never said it aloud. "She has a truly noble soul," he thought. Around 4 in the afternoon, Dona Lucinda arrived. She looked stunning, dressed in expensive clothes. Some of those outfits were paid for with debts she had charged to her future inheritance. That was clever. João thought it made it seem like he wasn't lifting her from nothing. Dinner went smoothly, without any problems. Just after 8, Dona Lucinda said her goodbyes, leaving the groom clearly enchanted. If not for the situation, Dona Joana herself would have fallen for the widow's charm. Dona Lucinda had treated her with such kindness and grace, truly admirable behavior. Still, João couldn't help but wonder, was it all calculation? Dona Lucinda probably wanted everyone's support, and she knew how much Dona Joana's opinion mattered. Later that night, João's nephew Jose arrived. He had also been at dinner, and now he wanted to talk. "Uncle," Jose began, "I noticed something today." "What was it?" João asked. "I think if you are not careful, you could be fooled." "Fooled? By who?" "By her, the woman who was here today." "What do you mean?" "She has plans, Uncle. She wants to marry you." "So what?" "Well, here is the thing, you're not the first. You're the 5th wealthy man she's targeted. The first 4 figured out her game in time and didn't fall for it. I'm telling you this so you don't fall for her sweet talk. If she says anything to you, be careful." João turned red with anger. His voice shook as he cut his nephew off. "Enough. Leave now and don't come back with these lies." Jose bowed politely and walked out, but his words had already taken root. Alone again, João's mind began to twist the truth. He imagined the worst, adding dark colors to what he now saw as a terrible betrayal. By the time he finally stood up, his heart was full of pain and doubt. João Barbosa was not the kind of man easily swayed by words. Still, something in what his nephew had said stuck with him. It was the beginning of a long inner battle. At first he exploded in anger, shouting at the boy, furious at the suggestion. But once the storm passed, he sat down and thought. What if the young man was right? The idea troubled him. No, he finally told himself, he's just a liar. Dona Joana, however, had heard everything. She believed the nephew's words and thought he was brave to speak up. She decided to act. Jose didn't waste time and went back to try again. João Barbosa, still shaken, shared his doubts with the housekeeper. "She's trying to confuse me," he said. "I think he's right," she replied. "You too?" he asked, surprised. "I am," she said, "and I can say it because I no longer belong here." She brought a handkerchief to her eyes, and João Barbosa felt his heart break into 1,000 pieces. He tried to comfort her, asking what had caused such a decision. Dona Joana refused to explain at first. Then, trembling and clearly moved, she said, "Because I also have a heart." She turned and ran before he could reply. João Barbosa stood there, staring blankly at the space she had just left. Then he looked at himself in the mirror, as if asking it if what had just happened made any sense. Maybe it did. He sent someone to bring her back. When she returned, she seemed sorry for having gone too far. "I only meant," she said gently, "that I, like your nephew, also have a heart. And I cannot bear to see you give your life to someone who doesn't deserve you." "Is that all?" It wasn't easy to say, but I felt it was my duty. "Still, I understand I can't stay here." He tried to calm her, to ease her guilt. And in the end, she agreed to stay. Even so, João Barbosa could not shake the feeling of confusion and sadness. He paced, whispered to himself, got dressed, and walked out the door. João Barbosa sat across from Dona Lucinda, the afternoon light soft behind her. He hadn't meant to look so heavy-hearted, but there it was. She saw it right away. "You seem troubled," she said. "Is it something at home?" "Maybe," he muttered, not looking up. "I can guess," she said, leaning forward. "You can? Did your housekeeper say something to upset you? Why do you think that?" Dona Lucinda didn't answer right away. He pressed her. "I just don't like her face," she finally said. "Oh, come now. She's not a bad woman. Well, maybe not on the surface. You think she's hiding something? I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if she's one of those women who stir up trouble." "Oh, really?" "Just a thought. If you knew her, you'd see she's not like that." That last comment stuck in his mind. He couldn't ignore it. Was it possible? Could Dona Joana really be the kind of person who causes problems? It didn't seem likely when he thought of the way she had welcomed him home. She had never been more loving. Still, from that moment on, he watched her more closely. And it hurt him to do it. He didn't want to doubt her, but he couldn't help it. The idea had taken root. A few days later, Dona Joana came into the room. Her voice was gentle when she spoke. "You look so sad." "What's wrong?" "Nothing, Dona Joana." A moment passed. Then he turned to her. "Tell me the truth. Did someone ask you to say something about that lady? You know the one I mean." She stopped. Her face changed. "You think I would do that? That I would let myself be used like that? Oh, that's too much." She pulled out her handkerchief, brought it to her eyes, and began to cry. João Barbosa couldn't bear to see her cry. She had been with him for years, always kind, always loyal. He tried to comfort her, but she said the words had cut deep. "It hurt me here," she said, touching her chest. Her voice was full of pain. And in that moment, something clicked for him. She loves me, he thought. It wasn't the first time he'd seen how she looked at him, that quiet, hopeless kind of love. But now, it was clearer than ever. And how could he hate someone who loved him like that? He couldn't. In fact, he felt something close to pride. There was something warm in knowing that, even late in life, his presence could bring out such feelings in someone's heart. João Barbosa found himself caught in the middle of a quiet but fierce battle between two women, Lucinda and Joanna. Both fought for his heart, using every tool they had. He became their pawn, tossed back and forth like a rubber ball, never staying in one place for long. When he was with Lucinda, he doubted Joanna. When he was with Joanna, he questioned Lucinda. His mind, weakened by age, lacked strength and direction. One word could send him south. The next word would push him north. To make matters worse, some events began to work against Lucinda. Her nephew Jose kept whispering doubts into João Barbosa's ear. At the same time, Lucinda's relatives started to circle around the old man, showing too much interest. Despite his good intentions, João began to wonder if Lucinda truly loved him, or if she had other plans. Then came a painful attack of rheumatism. Confined to his home, he had no choice but to rely entirely on Joanna. Lucinda visited a few times, but she was no longer the main player. Joanna, determined to regain her old power over him, gave him her full attention. She cared for him, spoiled him, and talked with him. She read the newspapers aloud, told him the latest gossip about their neighbors, and mixed in old stories that fit perfectly with the news of the day. Distance and absence are powerful enemies of fading love. As soon as João felt well enough, he went to see Lucinda. She welcomed him politely, but not with the warmth he had grown used to. The same thing happened again the next time he visited. Slowly, he realized that his feelings for her had cooled, just like hers seemed to have cooled for him. Lucinda thought that by acting cold and distant, she could make João want her more. But the opposite happened. João Barbosa realized too late that he had let something precious slip away, but he refused to give up. When he returned home, he saw Dona Joanna with new eyes. She seemed like the perfect wife, the kind of woman every man dreams of marrying. How come I never thought of marrying her before? He wondered silently. He didn't say it out loud, but Dona Joanna saw it in his eyes. She could feel the idea blooming in his mind, and she didn't need words to understand. From that moment on, João Barbosa focused more on life at home. Meanwhile, Dona Lucinda, after the first few days apart, began writing long, emotional letters. These arrived regularly at Joanna's house, and he read them in front of Dona Joanna, though quietly. After the second letter, João thought about going back to Dona Lucinda, trying to fix what had broken. But the bond he now felt with Dona Joanna was stronger than he had expected, and the idea of returning faded away. Dona Joanna eventually found a clever way to stop the letters from reaching him. One day, João asked her to join him in private. "Dona Joanna," he began, "I asked you here to talk about something serious." "Please, go on." "I want to make you happy." "Haven't you already done that for a long time?" she replied. I want to make you happy in a real lasting way. How do you mean? People might not believe our love is real. Let's prove them right. Sir, Dona Joanna said, pretending to be deeply offended in a way that felt both genuine and rehearsed. You misunderstood me, Joanna said quickly. I'm offering you my hand in marriage. Just then he was struck by an asthma attack. It interrupted their conversation at the most exciting moment. João sat quietly for a few minutes, catching his breath, barely hearing or speaking. When he finally recovered, both of them knew. Their happiness was now a promise between them. A new marriage was about to begin. Dona Joanna hadn't expected this outcome, but she was grateful. She silently thanked the widow who had tried to marry João, because her attempt had given Dona Joanna the idea to do the same and led her to this moment. João Barbosa's nephew José could hardly believe that all his efforts had been for nothing, that everything he'd done had only helped the housekeeper. He tried to talk his uncle out of the plan, but João stopped him with just a few words. Not this time, he said firmly. I know Dona Joanna's virtues, and am doing something truly honorable. José tried to speak again. If you keep this up, you'll pay for it, João warned. That was enough. José stepped back and had no choice but to accept what had already happened. The old man, nearly 70, clearly looked full of life. Dona Joanna, worried that Joano's many health issues or his age might end things before they were settled, pushed to speed up the wedding. A notary was called in and, following the groom's instructions, began preparing for Dona Joanna's future. If I have no children, João said, I want. Rest easy, the notary replied. The news of this decision and the events that followed reached Dona Lucinda's ears, and she could barely believe it. I understand why he ran away, she said bitterly. It was her doing, that servant. Then she fell into despair. She cursed her fate and blamed the devil for all her troubles. All is lost. All is lost, she cried, her voice torn from deep inside her. But neither Dona Joanna nor João Barbosa could hear her. They were living like two young lovers, lost in dreams of the future. João was already planning to build a grand house in one of the city's outskirts, where he would spend the rest of his days. They talked about how the house should be built, what furniture to buy, the garden, and the meal that would mark their first night there. I also want a ball, João said. For what reason? A dinner is enough. No, no. There must be a big dinner and a big ball. It's more impressive. Besides, he wanted to present her to society as his wife and have her dance with some foreign diplomat. Can you dance? He asked. Yes. Then it's settled. Dinner and ball it is. They chose New Year's Day for the wedding. They both said, we will begin a happy year. 10 days still remained, but Dona Joanna could hardly wait. Her nephew José, who had been upset for a few days, made peace with his future aunt. The other nephew took this chance to come ask his uncle for forgiveness. He congratulated him and received his blessing. Now there was no choice but to accept this unavoidable misfortune with a smile. The days passed with unbearable slowness. Dona Joanna had never seen them so long. The clock hands seemed to suffer from rheumatism. The sun must surely have swollen legs. The nights felt like they would never end. During the last week, João Barbosa did not leave his house. He spent all his time looking at the woman who would soon share his life. At last, the desired morning arrived. Dona Joana had not slept 1 minute, her mind too busy with thoughts. The wedding would take place quietly, and this was one of Dona Joana's victories, because the groom had spoken of a big dinner and many guests. The bride had been wise. She did not want to draw attention or expose him to gossip. She even managed more. The ceremony would happen at home, in a small room set up like a chapel. Besides the nephews, only 2 ladies, one of whom was the godmother, and 3 gentlemen would be there, all over 50 years old. A few minutes before the ceremony, Dona Joana appeared in the living room. She wore a serious and simple dress. When the groom did not arrive on time, she decided to look for him herself. João Barbosa was in his office, already dressed and seated by a table, one hand already in his glove. When Dona Joana entered, she saw his reflection in the large mirror across the room. He had his back to her. João Barbosa stared at her with a smile full of joy. "Well then," said Dona Joana. He kept smiling and looking at her. She came closer, walked around the table, and stood in front of him. "Are we going or not?" asked Dona Joana. João Barbosa kept smiling and looking at her. She came closer, and then stepped back in terror. Death had taken him. It was the best of all brides.
Thank you for listening so far. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like our channel and click the bell to be notified whenever a new book is read. Have you heard of Machado de Assis? Machado de Assis, born in Rio de Janeiro in 1839, is considered one of the greatest writers in Brazilian literature and a master of psychological realism. He was a novelist, poet, playwright, and short story writer whose works explore the complexities of human behavior with irony, subtlety, and deep introspection. Among his most famous novels are Dom Casmurro, which questions truth and memory, and the posthumous memoirs of Brás Cubas, a satirical narrative told by a deceased man. Machado's literature often reflects the contradictions of Brazilian society, addressing issues like race, class, power, and identity in a sophisticated yet accessible style. Despite being born into poverty and facing racial prejudice, Machado de Assis rose to become the president of the Brazilian Academy of Letters and a symbol of literary excellence. His sharp wit and profound observations about society and the human soul make his works timeless and universally relevant. Today, he is recognized not only as a Brazilian icon, but also as a world-class author whose legacy continues to influence generations of writers and thinkers. Machado de Assis shows us that literature can be both elegant and critical, intimate and universal, humorous and profound. His stories remain as powerful and thought-provoking today as they were more than a century ago. Machado is a treasure of world literature, and through his voice, we discover the infinite layers of the human experience.